Hey, what's up? We're here with another episode of Spotlight. This time we're talking about the late, great Chadwick Boseman. We're going to start off with 42. Now, Nick, what were your initial thoughts when you saw 42, and especially about Chadwick and kind of how you were introduced to him as an actor?
Well, first off, this was his like breakout role. This is when everyone like his name got out to everyone. And I remember I caught 42 by chance on TV, and I'm a big my family's a big baseball family, and so Jackie Robinson is a name that's a name I know well, and that was the initial sell in the movie for me. And Chadwick did a really good job. I think the scene where he like smashes the bat like inside like
Mm,
the dugout.
yeah,
I remember being so like caught off guard because I was just like it was such like a raw and like powerful moment, and he's also just so like effortlessly charming and like cool under pressure throughout the whole film. I've like read up on it because I rewatched it since like he from what the historians say, he's very accurate to how Jackie actually was, and um, just very down to earth, very charming, very much embodies the same traits that Chadwick Boseman embodied himself. And it was a really great like star making performance. Like it was such a great jumping off point for him. And I don't know, I just remember another moment where they're all like the reporters are like talking to him, and at one point someone asks like, what are you gonna do if they like chuck the ball at your head? And he just kind of shrugs his shoulders and goes, I'll duck. And like it just keeps on going. And it's just like a really just um very like grounded performance, and a great starting point for him. All this parts you need about Chadwick Boseman like in that performance right there.
yeah. I know for me, I saw 42, I think, in movie theaters, if I'm not mistaken, because I grew up being a big baseball fan. And I read a book. I can't remember what the book was called, about Jackie Robinson, and I was really fascinated about him. And so I was like, oh, I have to see this movie when it comes out. And I went to the theaters, and I was like, wow, like this dude is a star. The way he whenever he's on screen, he is the center of attention. He's just like it's a aura around him that kind of has been unmatched, like as far as actors go. And I know you hit about upon the dugout scene, which I think is one of like the most well known scenes of the film, of just like being able to show how Jackie Robinson had to keep all this stuff all like cooped up, all this anger, being frustrated because he's playing professional baseball and all the hate that he's getting, because of the color of his skin. And he just has that one moment where he just rages, and it's like there's a certain feeling of, even though you can see the anger, it's not about the anger at all, and it's a lot of it's in his mannerisms, because in this role and future roles that we'll talk about, he is an expert at copying mannerisms of the characters he's playing, and making sure that he's really accurate in all of the aspects that he covers of any character. um so overall, I thought this was a great performance, and this is the first time where I was like, whoa, that guy's really good. But it kept on going, and it only got more because I'm a sports movie person, and we have Draft Day coming up next. Maybe not the best film of all time, from a sports GM perspective. I don't know if that trade would have ever worked, but let's go on at least and talk about Chadwick in that role, because I think there's actually a lot to dive in there. So Nick, you want to start with that?
Yeah, well, for the first thing is that like Chadwick is a supporting character in this movie, one amongst many other supporting people in this movie, but he really does like stand out. There's like a confidence, almost a swagger to his character, even in his little scenes. And I don't know, it's just like just really fun just to like watch him play off against such like Jennifer Garner, Kevin Costner. It's just really cool to see him play off because again, like this was like this came out a year after 42, so um like his career was still like emerging, and so it's just really cool to see him play against some of the bigger like hitters in the industry. I watched I went on a Chadwick like marathon after he passed, and this was the last film I watched. And so at that final moment when like Kevin Costner picks him and like he's in like utter shock and he's crying, I wa- I got emotional just because I was like, oh my god, like Chadwick's like, Chadwick's gone, and like
Mhm.
he like, God, like it really hit me in that moment, and like it's such a grace. It's just like a lot of like grace and humility in that moment in particular, and um, in a way, I'm glad that was the last one of my marathon, just because was such like a happy and like uplifting moment to see Chadwick just so like his character just be so like happy and enthused in the moment. And I don't know, for a small role, he has again the same charm. Yeah, it brings a little more of the swagger that he displays in later roles, and it's just an enjoyable bit.
Yeah, it's not too large of a role, but I think one of the things is he's a scene stealer.
Mhm.
Um, and that's something that always, they're actors who don't have large roles in movies, but whenever they're in the film, they are the best part of it. And he by far is when he's on screen. Um, and it's a different type of charisma and energy. It's more outgoing, and there's more of an ego to his character. He's a football player, you know what I mean? To get into the NFL, you have to have an ego, and he plays that really well. And he shows it's interesting how he shows the two sides to a character really well. The scene you talk about him getting drafted and just breaking down, it felt very real and grounded in a movie that sometimes felt unrealistic. And it's interesting, I think the props to an actor is not only how good they can be in a good movie, but how good you can be in a bad movie, because that takes talent.
Mhm.
But that's just my opinion on the movie, to be fair. But
I enjoyed it. It was no money ball, but I mean, I wouldn't mind like turning it on for like a day or so.
uh-huh,
Good time.
we'll agree to disagree. But moving on, we have Get On Up. Now you have not seen this yet, correct?
Unfortunately, no, not yet.
Yeah, you definitely should check it out. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Now, this movie is maybe his best performance. Maybe I'm torn between a couple.
Mhm.
Now, Get On Up's like a music drama. He plays James Brown. For those of you that don't know, James Brown is a famous musician. Thus, the song "Get On Up" titles after one of his most well-known songs. Great musician, and this story is I'm trying not to spoil it, but it's one of my favorite musical biopics. It depicts it's told in a non-linear fashion, um, where the yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'll stop at it's a non-linear fashion and walking the line, because it's a real person's life, but I don't want to give away the story structure in some ways just because that plays into what makes it so interesting. But seeing the differences between his childhood to his adulthood, and how that kind of the difficult childhood that he had created the man that James Brown would be. And just James Brown as it, Chadwick Boseman playing James Brown is next level. One, he got the voice down to the voice is just amazing, with like synonymous with pretty much how James Brown talked. And the stunts, I mean, Chadwick Boseman doing a lot of his own dancing stunts. I don't know if he did all of them, but I believe he did a lot of them or most of them. And some of the stuff he does, like doing splits and stuff, I'm like, no, ow, it hurts. Like it hurts to watch. And the story is he bought a mirror before playing this role, and for months was doing just dancing in a mirror, just looking at how his feet looked, and then working his way up to his body, and then his head to match everything. Like the dedication that he had to roll, and he wasn't asked to do that. They were like, we can get a double, like we'll do all that, and he was like, no, I want to do it I want to embody the character. So there was just like a next level dedication that he had to character, whether it was the accent itself or if it was the voice or it was the body man. Like the mannerisms of that character are so unique, and Chadwick really taps into that. And there's such a like acting is an art. It's an art form and it takes such a dedication to it. And he put in that full dedication into making sure that he embodied the character and really like he did with Jackie Robinson. He brought a honor and respect to such an important like a prominent figure in pop culture because it deserves that. And not every actor is willing to go to those lengths to do that. And I think that like speaks a lot to his character. I mean, and it's an amazing performance, and the story itself about Chadwick and the guy who becomes his best friend and how James Brown kind of struggles through life and through good and bad is it's a really powerful story. I can't recommend that film highly enough. Definitely go watch it. It will
Snubbed
be
for an
worth it.
Oscar.
Huh?
Snubbed for an Oscar.
For Oscar nom, definitely. I don't know. It always depends on the year and who's in the year, but I think definitely an Oscar nom would have been like I would have been like, oh, that's an Oscar nominated film at the very least.
Got you. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'll
Yeah,
make. It's on my list. I'll be sure to get to it soon.
yeah. But moving on, we have Black Panther. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this film. It's a small indie film.
Only made a few million, few billion at the box office.
Yeah,
Then if
one
you
or the
haven't
other.
seen it,
But Nick, what were your initial thoughts when you saw him cast as Black Panther first in Civil War and then kind of moving into his own film?
well, I remember when I saw he was casted, it didn't like because I hadn't seen Draft, I had seen Get On Up. All I had was 42, and like even by that point, it had been a while since I'd seen 42. So I'm like, okay, like I didn't have like good bad because I was just like had a faint memory of him from 42, and then seeing him in Civil War, uh, I was actually like very impressed. Like there's like 10 million things happening in Civil War. There's about 10 million more characters happening for every one thing, and they managed to give him this like very cool and very like reasonable introduction. Like he fit within the confines of the movie, and he had to do like the most basic like version of T'Challa, like just like the bare like basic characteristics before he could delve in deeper in his solo film, and I feel he managed to get the like wisdom, the uh like warrior like ferocity. There's that scene when him, Falcon, and Cap are in like the prison truck or whatever, and he says like something along the lines of like, "How long do you think you can keep Bucky Barnes from me or something?" And you fully believe he's probably like the most like able person in that room,
Mm-hmm.
and he just has that very subtle sense of like he can kick everyone's ass in the room, but he still has like the maturity. I think that's the word that sums up his performance in Civil War is just maturity, and then they develop that brilliantly in Black Panther. Like um, compare it to like another story about a king like Aquaman or Thor, like it was them like learning to like be worthy of like the throne. While with Black Panther, he was already given the throne within the first like 20 minutes or so, and then it was him learning like the complexities of it after, and he kills it throughout the film, which is amazing because everyone kills it. The whole cast kills it in that film, and I mean, yeah, like just between, I would say those two are like the biggest of the Panther performances. Like his bits in Endgame and Infinity War are entertaining, but also like he's not the central part of it. But yeah, there's just a level of like maturity and like openness and like I don't know. He's just like one of the more level-headed characters in the MCU when you compare it to like Thor or Tony Stark. He's just definitely one of the more level-headed and wise and mature people, and it's just really great to watch him just do all these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think you really touched upon Civil War well. I think he has actually. I'm not. I don't dislike Civil War. I'm not
Mhm.
the most massive fan of that film.
Mhm.
And I think Chadwick Boseman actually has one of the most interesting arcs, him and Zemo, that kind of arc, um, where you go from this guy who's just on a vengeance tour. He's like he said, he's filled by hate, and then he's like, I'm stopping this. I'm not going to be filled by hate and vengeance anymore. And there's that kind of that last scene with him and Zemo
Mhm.
is so powerful as a character arc of him just being like a bloodthirsty guy who just wants to kill and avenge his father without really going through the rationale of like realizing that cooler heads prevail and that maybe this isn't even the right person, and he realizes he almost killed the wrong man.
Mhm.
And at the end it brings him a level of there's the character arc of realization and bettering yourself as a person as he realizes that he was on the wrong path by just trying to kill people to solve your problems will never actually bring you peace. And I think that's a really powerful arc within the film, and I think he does a really good job of portraying that. So that's what I loved about Civil War. But moving on into Black Panther, I thought this was a great performance. I don't think it gets talked about enough, to be perfectly honest. I think a lot of
Maybe
people have.
Jordan gets like the discussion about him overshadows, I feel,
Yeah, yeah.
Chadwick.
And I understand it because I think Michael B. Jordan was amazing in that role. But I think Chadwick doesn't get enough credit himself, partially because how good of an actor he is. People already like, that's what we expect of him.
Mhm.
Um, but this film, I mean, there's something about how dedication and caring, you see him as such a caring, kind character with his relationship with his sister,
Mhm.
which is one of my favorite things. That scene, the what are those scene? And he tries on the new suit, and it's like in one small scene, you buy every single bit of love that like him and his sister have in that connection. And it's this whole film. The film's about globalism, which is Killmonger, right? Versus isolationist, being an isolationist, like Wakanda is, and like Chadwick Boseman, he's an isolationist at first. And his whole arc is kind of realizing that, you know, as this technologically advanced country that has more resources than everyone else in the world and can help, save lives and make the world a better place. It's going from we need to protect our own, from everyone else to, through seeing someone who's a globalist who's maybe wrong in their way, in the way they approach, becoming that, but that concept is there. It convinces him to reach out to the rest of the world. And that arc from him having like no want at all to do that to completely the opposite and saying, I'm gonna, reach out, give my hand to the rest of the world and pull the rest of the world up. I think the way he portrays that at the end, that one, I don't remember if it's a post-credit scene or if it's just the end of the film,
At
where I
the,
think
like,
he's
the
in
UN
Oakland,
meeting, at the UN meeting, or the Oakland scene.
the Oakland scene.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know the UN announcements at the very end, right?
yeah.
Yeah. But just from beginning to end, there's a lot that he really does well to portray that theme. And I think it's why it's so noticeable in the film, in part, is because of how his arc's carried. And there's what the last scene between Michael B. Jordan and Chadwick when they're both, looking on the Wakandan sunset, and Chadwick has gone from someone who, again, he's like a little bit vengeful. He wants to get rid of Claw, right? But this, in this film, he doesn't kill him. He just hates him. And at the end, you see him with a villain, and he's able to realize that this is a tortured soul. This is someone who, was Wakanda failed because they failed to protect, their own. And it's the arc in it of itself is so powerful to me that I just love this film, and I love what Chadwick does to push that forward. And also, to quickly touch upon this, I know we're going a little long here, but the physicality that he brings to the role. He got jacked for this.
100%, yeah, 100%.
Um, and some of the stuff that they have him doing in this, especially in the fights, the ceremonial fights for becoming king in Black Panther, are just crazy acrobatics. It's like a dance. You know, that's what actors compare fighting in films. It's a dance essentially. Um, and it's just amazing how he brings the physicality. He walks into a room, and just the way he walks into the room, he feels like he's the king. It's that same thing I was talking about earlier. He has that aura around him that he is the king, and that's why he was perfect for this role.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, we have Marshall. Marshall came out in, I believe, 2017, if I'm
2017.
not if I'm not mistaken. What were your thoughts on this film?
As a film, I go back and forth on it because I think it's a very nicely done courtroom drama. I have issues with how the title character was like a secondary character. That kind of bothered me, admittedly. But in terms of just Chadwick and his performance, this might be my like actually I was about to say my second or third, but I was like, I actually have never properly ranked all of them, so I'll come back to that. But it is definitely one of my favorite performances of his. There is a sense of like there again, there's the swagger from Draft Day, and there's also this like the professionalism and like wisdom from T'Challa kind of like all mixed in. There's like um he is like fearless, but he's like just well spoken, well articulate. He is like he knows what he's doing. He's so in like command of the situation, which I suppose is what makes the film interesting is how like Josh Gad is forced to like argue the case. But I don't in every scene he's in, whether he's talking to the press, talking with Josh Gad, or like just like where he's by himself, there is like a very there's a large sense of like just knowledge and fearlessness, and he's like totally prepared to do what it takes, and he knows he's like capable of doing it. And it's just like again, he's a scene stealer, and he's so great to just watch him just like deliver his lines and be so at ease in this role. Another black icon. It's really great to watch him in this film, even if like I go back and forth on the film as a whole. He's most certainly not the weak spot. He's my favorite part.
Yeah, I think there's this cool confidence to him as a character, and you know, like I am going to keep on talking about this till everyone's like stop. But his presence in the film is just unmatched, and I agree the way he puts Josh Gad on the back foot
Mm-hmm.
From the very beginning, and he's just he feels very inspirational, and you feel this confidence and this love for this character like you should the person in real life, right? And through this one court case you like that's what I love. He's able to tell a story where through a court case you know who this person was in his life. You know who he was, like 100%. There is no doubt that you know exactly if you were to meet this person how they would feel. Like Chadwick gives you like how they would talk, how their mannerisms work. So I think overall this is a great performance, and I it's tough to rank.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like is Thurgood Marshall ahead of Jackie Robinson? I don't know. It's close. Is it ahead of
Something to sleep on.
James Brown? Yeah, definitely something. Maybe by the end of this video, I'll come up with a decision of his best performance. But in the meantime, let's move on to 21 Bridges. This is one of his only films that I haven't seen. I know you have. So you want to talk about his performance in this
Yeah.
film?
Kind of the same case as Marshall. The film itself, it's an entertaining film. It's an enjoyable film, but you know, I don't think it's it came out last year, 2019. I don't think it's one of the best of the year. And again, it sometimes feel like Chadwick's character, even though he's the protagonist, is like shifted to secondary just because like there's so many things happening. But again, like Marshall, by no means is he the weak spot. There is a level of like focus. And this is the other part he brings in. There's another aspect of Black Panther that translates to this film is there's this like laser focus in everything that he does. Like the 21 Bridges storyline, the most basic sense is it's a manhunt, and you see him like he's like zeroed in like every single moment, just very aware of the situation. There's a great scene near the end of the film with one of the supporting characters. I won't reveal who because that might be a spoiler. And one, it's a well-established actor. So to see those two play off each other is really cool. And you see, he more mimics a soldier, and then like I would say like the warrior in Black Panther. There is again like this focus. I kind of think of like um, I don't know, like what's coming to mind right now is like kind of like Anthony Mackie in The Hurt Locker, or like anyone from that movie. Like they were always alert, they were always like ready to go, and there was just this just like like direction. His character's like going, and he's always going, he's always moving, and there's this momentum that carries throughout. A lot of the film's momentum carries with Chadwick Boseman, and I don't know, I mean it makes sense. You know, we've been saying this whole time this guy is a scene stealer. He's can command a scene no problem. So to have the film like coming like through him is awesome. And I don't know if you guys heard the behind the scenes story, but he cut his salary so his co-star Sienna Miller could appear in the film. And just a little story to show how cool and great of a guy he was off screen as he is on screen.
Yeah, and that's that. I mean, we can't highlight that enough of how important he was as being like that kind gentle soul who, you know, kind of touched everyone's life and inspired so many people in a way that is kind of unmatched. And all the stories you heard about after his passing just really are a testament to how great of a person he is.
100%.
But moving on to the last film we've seen of his, at least for now. I know there's a new one coming out in December, which will be his final performance.
Right.
We have Da 5 Bloods. Now, this is a smaller supporting role, but I think it's a very important role to the film. Nick, would you like to speak to that?
Well, first, a really great film. I highly recommend it to everyone. It's on Netflix. Some fantastic performances all around. And from what I've heard, there is obviously it's too far, very far to tell, but there has been some rumblings that Chadwick could potentially be up for a supporting actor nom, because people are talking about his upcoming performance in a drama called Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and people say he kills it there, and that could be Oscar worthy. And then people are saying, well, his take in The Five Bloods could be so as well. And depending on who's nominated or whatever, I mean, I could buy it. Like, I think he delivers for a small role. He delivers a great performance, and he manages to like synthesize everything that we've been talking about. He has the wisdom. He has the like commanding the room presence that like T'Challa or Marshall has when they're like at the center of the room. He has the focus of his protagonist from 21 Bridges, and he even has like a little of like the swagger and personality from like drawing from 42 and drafting from what you said on Getting Up. It's a very pivotal role. Like you said, it's a small role, but it's an important role because he's like, in a way, he's kind of the catalyst for pretty much the whole film in a way. And he only appears in flashbacks, but he really shines throughout the film. Every single scene he's in. Yeah, his final scene with Delroy Lindo, or there's a scene where he's like giving a speech to his men. He gives several speeches. All of his speeches are great, and like it's just like he just managed to bring all the elements that were emphasized in previous performances together in this small bit, and it's just like a very cool, fascinating character to have, and he's so important to the story, and he makes like such an impact. Again, like in Draft Day, small role, but he still manages to make an impact.
Yeah, I think even more so is he's like the structure of the story, in a way, and his role in the flashbacks. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say what happens, but I'm gonna avoid it actually. But
Mhm.
his role in the flashbacks is what pushes everyone forward in the present day. Um, and it's because he inspires and he shows leadership. And I agree, he brings kind of like that leadership and inspiration from Black Panther, but he brings that kind of fun bit of ego that he has in his characters in Get On Up and Draft Day. And he just, everything connects in this film. And he inspires the group in the film, and I think it kind of represents him as a whole, as he is just an inspirational character, both on screen and real life. And in this role brings a lot. That last scene that he has with Delroy Lindo, um, may be one of my favorite scenes in all of movies for this whole year. Um, yeah, it's definitely a performance worth talking about when Oscar season comes around. I think 100%. Um, but also Delroy Lindo will definitely be leading that
Yeah,
conversation.
100%. It'll be interesting if like Chadwick is nominated for this and for Ma Rainey, because that means he'll be one of few actors to have scored two acting noms in the same season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he might be the first to do it posthumously. So I don't know, that'd be an incredible moment for his legacy.
Yeah, I 100% think so. But I think it goes beyond that. I think it's less about the awards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Awards are great and all, but I think at the end of the day, it's what you bring to everyone. And I mean,
Yeah.
he brought these important roles like Jackie Robinson and James Brown and Thurgood Marshall, um, and T'Challa, um, playing Black Panther, to the screen. And I think that, he is our generation's like Denzel in a way. Um,
For sure. Yeah. This decade belonged to him.
yeah,
He
pushing
grew up with your
boundaries
generation.
and just like bringing important people in the the country or the world's history, to life, and inspiring like so many people.
Right.
And I think that's really important. And to just not acknowledge how amazing of a person he was, and how amazing of an
Yeah.
actor he
And I
was.
think what made no final thing I'll say before we'll say our favorite roles, I guess, like what made his passing hurt, especially for our generation, is that we basically grew up with his career. We were all there for we all saw him from 42 to the Five Bloods to eventually Ma Rainey in 2 months. Like we'll have been with him throughout this crazy journey of his. So um, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad we got to be a part of. I'm glad we got to see it all happen because he's given us so much.
Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna wrap this up here with our favorite roles of Chadwick Boseman. I don't know if you have yours yet, so I'll start. I'm gonna go with, and it's close, but I'm gonna go with Get On Up.
Okay.
I really think that performance is his best. I think it kind of combines all of his best qualities as an actor. And there's something about the way he carries himself in that role, that I think is just kind of unmatched. But what was your favorite role of his?
I'm thinking about it for right now because I feel like it could be uh, Norman, which is his The Five Bloods character, or Jackie from 42. But I also haven't seen them in a I haven't seen them in a bit. So or at least I haven't seen The Five Bloods in a bit, so I feel it could be close. Honestly, for right now, I'll say either T'Challa or Thurgood Marshall, just because there's a sense of maturity and a sense of just he combines the maturity, the swagger, and like the focus that Chadwick is able to bring and like present in different ways throughout the films. And he also gets in a few good monologues in both of these roles that I think just perfectly sell like how capable he is as an actor. So for right now, we'll say it's between the King of Wakanda himself and the hero Thurgood Marshall.
Yeah. And with that, that wraps up our episode of Spotlight on Chadwick Boseman. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and write us a comment down below. And let us know what you thought about Chadwick. What were your favorite roles of him? What are some of your favorite memories of seeing him in Black Panther in the movie theater? You know, when he says Wakanda forever for the first time and everyone goes nuts. Um, let us know, and we'll see you next time.